You've been lied to your entire life about what actually drives women to sleep with men. From movies to social media, from your friends to your own experiences, you've been conditioned to believe that attraction is about the visible. You've been told it's about looks, status, charm, or how much money a man has. You've been told women want connection, romance, or chemistry, that if you're kind, confident, and make her laugh, she'll choose you. But here's the cold, uncomfortable truth. None of that explains why one man can make a woman lose control while another who seems perfect in every rational way barely gets noticed. You've seen it happen. A man who has everything going for him still gets ignored, while another, who doesn't fit the traditional mold, becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. And when you try to make sense of it, you're left with confusion. Because logic doesn't govern desire, psychology does. The real truth is buried far deeper than attraction, beyond what women consciously understand about themselves. What drives their sexual choice is not a preference. It's an instinct. An ancient evolutionary program written into her subconscious long before language, money, or morality ever existed. Women don't give themselves to the man who excites them, not in the way you've been taught to believe. They give themselves to the man who passes 4 invisible psychological tests. Tests she doesn't even realize she's administering. They're not games. They're subconscious mechanisms, ancient filters that determine which man her biology sees as powerful, safe, and irresistible. Fail even one of them, and it doesn't matter how good you look, how successful you are, or how deeply she once claimed to love you. Something shifts inside her. The warmth you felt begins to fade. The eye contact shortens. The physical tension evaporates. Suddenly, she's not in the mood. You think it's something you said or did, but the truth is, you triggered something deeper. You failed a law written in her psychological code. Most men never realize these laws exist. They move through relationships, blind, trying to please, to impress, to prove they're good enough. They keep chasing validation, trying to decode what women want through words, promises, or performance. But none of it works, because they're fighting biology with illusion. They're trying to appeal to a conscious mind that isn't really in control. A woman's attraction doesn't obey logic, it obeys patterns. And once she senses weakness in one of those patterns, the emotional bond begins to die quietly, long before she ever admits it. Think about it. How many times have you heard a woman say, "I don't know why, I just lost interest"? That's not confusion, that's instinct. That's her biology withdrawing its investment. And it happens the moment her subconscious concludes that you've failed one of the tests. Whether it's dominance, emotional independence, boundaries, or the ability to lead her psychology rather than follow her moods. She doesn't reason it, she feels it. Because these 4 psychological laws aren't about choice, they're about survival. They were designed by evolution to help her identify which man can emotionally, mentally, and biologically command her respect and security. And that's why the modern man struggles so much. He's been told to suppress his masculine edge, to soften himself, to become more agreeable. He's told that being nice, emotionally available, and understanding will win her heart. But those are the traits that make her feel safe, not desired. Safety without tension kills attraction. A woman wants to feel safe, but she only feels that when she senses she can't completely control you. The paradox most men don't understand is this: the moment you start chasing her approval, you lose her respect. And when her respect is gone, so is her desire. When you finally learn to see the game for what it is, not romantic, but psychological warfare, everything changes. You stop asking, "What do women want?" and start noticing the patterns behind their words, their tone, their silence, their subtle emotional shifts. You begin to see how every gesture, every test, every emotional pull is part of an unconscious screening process, a way of measuring whether you truly hold power or if you only pretend to. Because to her subconscious, attraction is not about fairness, it's about hierarchy. It's about who she feels powerless to resist. That's why understanding these hidden laws changes everything. Once you see them, you'll never unsee them. You'll recognize why she flirts with one man and ignores another, why she pulls away when you try to prove yourself, and why she melts only when you stand your ground with quiet authority. You'll realize that women aren't unpredictable, they're deeply patterned, and the few men who understand those patterns don't compete for attention. They command it. Because attraction isn't won by appearance or wealth, it's earned through the silent dominance of the mind. And once you understand that, you'll stop chasing women altogether. They'll start chasing you. Every man grows up believing women choose sex because of attraction, the spark, the chemistry, the physical pull, but that's a surface illusion. Women don't surrender to men out of attraction. They surrender out of safety, and not physical safety, psychological safety. Because for a woman, intimacy is not just the act of being touched. It's the act of being seen. It's exposure, vulnerability, and the silent question her subconscious is always asking. If I open myself to this man, will he protect me or will he destroy me? Her biology remembers a world older than language, a world where choosing the wrong man could cost her everything. That ancient instinct still lives in her. So when she meets you, her body begins a silent interrogation your words will never hear. Every gesture, every tone, every look you give her is processed and measured against a single emotional test. Am I safe with this man? You could be tall, handsome, and successful. You could have the kind of confidence that fills a room. But if your energy feels unpredictable, if your presence carries volatility, neediness, or insecurity, she'll retreat. Her smile might stay. She might keep the conversation light and polite. But you'll feel it, the invisible wall. Her body won't open. Her tone will subtly change. Because her primal mind doesn't respond to appearances. It responds to energy. And if her nervous system reads danger, not the kind that threatens her physically, but the kind that threatens her peace desire, shuts down instantly. Most men misunderstand what safety actually means. They think it means softness, being gentle, agreeable, and understanding at all times. They think making her comfortable means removing all tension. But safety isn't comfort. Safety is control. It's your ability to remain composed when things turn chaotic. It's staying emotionally grounded when she's testing your patience. It's maintaining your frame when she's upset, irrational, or emotional, and refusing to match her chaos with yours. Because when a man loses control, she doesn't see passion. She sees instability. And instability is the fastest way to kill desire. A woman's trust grows in the space where a man's composure doesn't break. She doesn't need you to solve every problem she needs to feel that your presence doesn't collapse under pressure. Because when your energy stays unshaken, something primal happens inside her. Her defenses begin to fall. Her nervous system relaxes. Her guard lowers. And in that moment of psychological safety, desire is born. This is why the man who makes her feel safest is not the one who spoils her with gifts, compliments, or emotional softness. It's the one who embodies stability. The man whose tone stays calm when she provokes him. The man who doesn't flinch when she withdraws. The man who can look her in the eyes and hold his position without arrogance or apology. To her subconscious, that kind of control equals power. And power, when combined with restraint, creates the deepest form of attraction a woman can feel. Here lies the paradox that destroys most men. The man who tries to make her feel safe by over-giving, over-explaining, or over-empathizing ends up making her feel less safe. Because safety doesn't come from submission, it comes from presence. It's not what you say that convinces her. It's the calm certainty she feels when you don't need her validation. The moment you start performing for approval, her instincts classify you as unstable, because a man who needs to please her cannot be trusted to protect her. When a woman says, "I just don't feel that connection anymore," she rarely means attraction is gone. What she means is safety is gone. She can't relax with your energy anymore. Her body doesn't feel anchored around you. Because deep down, every woman wants to surrender. But she can only surrender when she feels her emotions won't destroy the man in front of her. So the first law is not about seduction. It's about containment. The ability to absorb emotional storms without losing yourself. To show strength not by dominance, but by steadiness. To make her feel that no matter how chaotic she becomes, your energy remains centered. That's what her subconscious defines as safe. And once she feels that safety, she doesn't just want you, she trusts you with her vulnerability. And that's the moment everything changes. Because once safety is established, desire awakens. The same woman who seemed cold, distant, or guarded suddenly becomes affectionate, open, and deeply feminine. Not because you convinced her, but because her body finally got the message her mind couldn't articulate. This man won't lose control. That's the hidden gate of female psychology. Before she can desire you, she must trust your strength, not the strength that intimidates, the strength that protects. The calm that tells her, without words, you are safe here. And when you master that energy, you unlock the first law, the foundation of attraction itself. Safety before desire. Here's what women will never say out loud. Attraction doesn't depend on what you do once. It depends on what you do consistently. Every woman studies patterns. She's not just watching how you act when things are easy. She's observing how you behave when pressure rises, when life becomes uncertain, and when your emotions are tested. She listens less to your words and more to your rhythm. You can speak all the right promises, talk about love, loyalty, and ambition. But if your energy doesn't match your words, her body will register the truth before her mind can explain it. Attraction doesn't fade because she stops liking you. It fades because her nervous system stops trusting you. This is the second law, consistency. It's the invisible language of stability. It's how a woman's subconscious decides whether you are a safe foundation or a potential threat. Because her emotions don't respond to logic, they respond to repetition. Each time your actions contradict your words, she feels a fracture in her trust. Every broken promise, every excuse, every unpredictable mood adds uncertainty to her nervous system. And uncertainty to a woman's biology means danger. She doesn't think this consciously, she feels it, the same way you feel when something is off. A man's inconsistency is chaos to a woman's psychology. Chaos makes her nervous system tighten, her attraction lower, her emotions become guarded. And it doesn't matter if the inconsistency is small, showing up late, being emotionally unpredictable, promising stability but acting impulsively to her subconscious, it's all the same signal. He can't be trusted. And trust isn't a luxury in her psychology, it's survival. That's why a woman will often drift away, not because of boredom or disinterest, but because something inside her no longer feels safe enough to open. Her biology rejects instability, the same way the body rejects poison quietly, automatically, without mercy. But even consistency, on its own, isn't enough. Because life will test you, and when it does, she's not watching how perfect you are. She's watching your composure. This is the third law, composure. Every argument, every challenge, every emotional storm she brings your way, it's never really about who's right or wrong. It's about one question: will you lose control? Most men do. The moment emotion enters the room, they crumble. They yell, withdraw, guilt trip, or shut down. They let her emotions dictate theirs, proving they are not the anchor, they're another wave. And the moment a woman realizes you can be emotionally manipulated, something primitive in her switches off. She stops seeing you as a source of safety and starts seeing you as another unstable force in her environment. Composure isn't about silence. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about self-mastery, the ability to hold tension without breaking. The power to stay calm when everything around you screams for reaction. Because when a man holds his center through chaos, a woman's psychology registers that as strength. Her instincts interpret your composure as protection, not because you dominate her, but because you can contain the storm. When you stay calm while she's emotional, you become something rare in her world, a man she can relax around. Because no matter how much power a woman appears to have in her life, her deepest feminine instinct still searches for one thing: The man who cannot be emotionally shaken. The man whose presence grounds her nervous system without words. When she feels that, her body responds in ways she can't rationalize. Safety turns into surrender. Trust transforms into desire. That's why composure is the most underestimated form of masculine power. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's quiet dominance, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. And in a world full of reactive men, the one who can maintain emotional stillness becomes magnetic, because that stillness communicates the deepest message a woman's psyche craves. I am unshaken. Consistency builds trust. Composure builds desire. One shows her she can rely on you. The other shows her she can lose control with you and still be safe. Together, they create the psychological proof of strength. The kind that doesn't need to be announced, only felt. When a woman feels both, something powerful happens. Her resistance dissolves. She no longer needs to test you, to question you, or to challenge your dominance because her subconscious already knows. And that's when attraction shifts into something deeper. It's no longer about looks, charm, or charisma. It becomes instinctual, primal, the kind of pull she can't explain to her friends, the kind that keeps her thinking about you long after you've left the room. That's the hidden power of the second and third laws. Consistency earns her trust. Composure earns her surrender. Without them, attraction dies quietly. But with them, it transforms into loyalty, respect, and the kind of desire that no other man can replicate. This is the law that separates powerful men from desperate ones. The final and most misunderstood principle of attraction: restraint. Most men fail it because they've been conditioned to believe that chasing, convincing, or proving their worth will earn them a woman's affection. They mistake persistence for strength and validation seeking for love. But the reality is, the opposite. The harder you chase, the weaker you appear. Every act of over-pursuit silently communicates dependency. It tells her subconscious that your sense of worth is tied to her response. And the moment she senses that, something inside her shuts down. Because to her instincts, desperation smells like fear. And fear, no matter how disguised, kills attraction. You can't force desire. The more you push, the more her subconscious recoils. What most men never realize is that women aren't turned off by a lack of attention. They're turned off by need. The moment she feels your world revolves around her approval, she loses the instinct to surrender to you. Because surrender, for a woman, is psychological. It only happens when she feels your energy is stronger than her emotions. A man who chases proves that he's ruled by her response. A man who holds his ground proves that he's ruled by himself. Here lies the paradox. Women sleep with the man who respects their boundaries, not the man who argues, manipulates, or tries to convince her to let her guard down. Respecting her isn't weakness, it's dominance, because it shows that you have control over your own impulses. It sends one silent but powerful message: I want you, but I don't need you. That message does something profound inside her mind. It flips the dynamic entirely. When you stop chasing her body, you begin to control her psychology. When you stop reacting to her withdrawal, she begins to wonder why. She starts to question what gives you that unshakable calm, that quiet confidence that refuses to beg for attention. And that curiosity, that haunting need to understand your composure, is the first spark of obsession. The truth is, the man who pressures a woman might win a moment, but he never wins her mind. Because pressure is a signal of weakness. It tells her that you can't tolerate rejection, that you lack control, that your desire overpowers your discipline. And once she feels that, she'll test you endlessly, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. She's trying to find the edge where your self-control breaks. And every time it does, her respect fades a little more. But the man who honors her boundaries, who remains calm, collected, and patient in the face of rejection, activates something far deeper. Because to her subconscious, that restraint equals strength. It tells her she's dealing with a man who can lead himself. A man who doesn't collapse under pressure, who doesn't chase what doesn't reciprocate, who doesn't confuse availability with value. That kind of man is dangerous not because he threatens her, but because he can't be controlled. And nothing is more arousing to a woman than a man she cannot control. She becomes drawn to him not out of logic, but out of emotional gravity, because his boundaries create polarity. His restraint forces her to lean in. His absence becomes louder than any words he could say. And in that silence, her attraction grows not because he gave her more attention, but because he withheld it with power. The paradox of boundaries is this: the more you can walk away, the more they want to follow. The man who can be alone without bitterness, who can love without attachment, who can care without craving, he becomes the rarest kind of presence in her life. That's the man she trusts. That's the man she respects. That's the man she eventually chooses. Because deep down, every woman's biology is drawn to one truth power that does not need her. The man who is whole on his own, who chooses her from strength, not desperation, triggers the instinct she can't resist: submission through trust. She doesn't give herself because he convinced her. She gives herself because his restraint proved he could handle her at her most emotional, unpredictable, and vulnerable. And that realization rewires her attraction completely. Now you understand what truly drives women: not looks, money, or even love, but four hidden psychological laws: safety, consistency, composure, and boundaries. When she feels safe, she opens. When you're consistent, she trusts. When you stay calm, she respects you.